Hey there, and welcome to the Invest In podcast. I'm your host, Zac Hoyt, real estate investor, RV park developer, and your guide to turning adventures into cash flow. Every Thursday, we dive into the strategies, tools, and mindsets that help you invest smarter and live freer. If you enjoy the show, tap subscribe, rate us, and share it with a friend. Now, let's get into today's episode. This episode is brought to you by RVParkConsultant.com. They are your go-to experts for purchasing, funding, designing, launching, and growing RV resorts and campgrounds. With over 35 years of hands-on industry experience, they offer smart park layouts, creative financing solutions, and operational optimization strategies to help you save money and boost your profits. Ready to turn your land into a thriving hospitality destination? Visit RVParkConsultant.com. Link is in the description below. Hey there. Welcome, everyone, to the RV Park Mastery Workshop Series. Good to have you here. And if you're listening on the podcast, then you're getting this wherever you're at, driving or doing something else. So this would be a good one if you're just listening to hop over to our YouTube page where we have the videos from the podcast, because we're going to have some visuals today, help some people analyze some deals that they have and give you something to really make things faster when you're looking at all your deals that you have going on for RV parks. Yeehaw. If you guys don't know me, I'm Zac Hoyt. Love the RV park space. Got a podcast, Facebook Mastery Group, and lots of other stuff. We're developing most technologically advanced RV destination in the world and buying lots of RV parks because I love playing around with my little boys out in nature, doing lots of fun stuff like that. Rhonda is here. Rhonda Benson here today. Thank you, Rhonda, helping us out with all of this all the time, and everyone else that's here. So I want to just give a quick little recap of what we did. So every month, there's two things that you guys should know about. We have a meetup that's on the third Thursday of every month. And then that's where I'm going to mute you if you don't mind some background noise there. That's where people can actually meet people. We've got some speakers that come in, but you can meet people and have conversations with them, right? Like you would in person. So that's on the third Thursday of every month in the evening. And then on the first Thursday, like today, we're going to have these workshop series where we're taking you through all the different steps that you would need, that you would probably pay someone lots of money to teach you how to buy an RV park. Well, we're going to go through all of those for free and for fun because we love giving out into the community and making things better. And it looks like, yeah, our topic list for this got to be 15 different items long, which is pretty crazy. That's great. So stay tuned. We'll help you out along the way with all of that. To give you a little recap, last time it was our first session in the series, and we're talking about funding solutions. So how do you fund your RV park? When do you go to a bank? When do you go to a hard money lender? Do you have to have money down? Do you have to have good credit? How do you solve those things if you don't have money down or you don't have good credit or any of these things experience, right? Where there's a will, there is a way. I'll tell you that. So it might be a little hairy at times, but there's ways of getting around all these things. So check that one out. It's really good when you're trying to either raise capital or just, how many different ways can you structure your deals that you don't need money out of pocket? So that's a good one. And Rhonda, yeah, thank you. Dropped this link to the RV Park Mastery. So that third Thursday of the month. So get on that one. So you start to get on that frequency as well. Pretty cool. But yeah, if you can fund these deals without any of your own money, even better, right? And that's the person who's going to be on our meetup for next month is one of the transaction coordinators who is helping out. They're going to be teaching us the stack method. You guys haven't seen that yet. Stack method's pretty freaking powerful where you actually get money at closing for buying a park. It's pretty great. So that is fun. Don't miss that one. It's wild. It will literally blow your mind. So it's a great one. I love those strategies. All right. So today we're going to be talking about quick ways of analyzing deals, because for one, you got to have a lot of flow of deals to make sure that you've got a good one that you end up with at the end. So you want to be able to pick from a lot of them, right? You don't want to just have, if you're going to the grocery store, you don't want to just have anyone give you just one thing that's in there, like one piece of fruit, and say, take this one. You want to pick a good one with all of that. So I'm going to get rid of this person right there. You got it. All right. You've managed that. Control, Lana. Yeah. Thank you, Lana. Appreciate you. Always exciting with this. So, but yeah, analyzing these deals, you want to have lots of flow of deals, deal flow in general. So that's coming in so you can pick a really good one from that. But you have to have great criteria. You have to have some quick criteria so that you can say, all right, this fits my buy box and this one doesn't. And that's what we're going to call it. If you guys haven't dealt with that with single family homes, you will, but that's what people are looking for is they're going to say, what's your buy box? They want to help you find a deal, bird dog a deal. You got to give them your buy box. Yep. And so that's just your quick criteria for, all right, what does it take to have a deal that's really good for me, right? Or for you in this sense? What are you looking for? So that's going to be one of the first things that we're going to talk about, because without that, you're really drinking through a fire hose. So I want to open this up to everyone else and kind of like, let's talk about what types of things you might put in your buy box. And, for some of these people that are here, Lana and Morris, haven't met you guys yet in the, Mo, haven't met you in our meetup. But yeah, do you guys have a buy box yet? Is what I would ask. And you can put it into the chat, or if you want to unmute, I want this to be a little more interactive than the meetup. And I see from Lana, not yet. Cool. That is totally fine. Yep.
Hi, this is Mo.
Hey there,
I'm
Mo.
new to all this. So I'm learning. And you're right about learning through the fire hose type thing. So I'm open to knowledge.
Right on. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's great. That's great, because I'm always looking for more knowledge all the time, always trying to elevate. And when we learn something, I like to bring it to everyone else in the group. And that's why we have these things right here. But yeah, a buy box. So what things typically go in a buy box for an RV park, right? What comes to mind, anyone that's here?
Location.
Location. Yeah. Heck yeah, location, because there's lots of places that you can buy. Do you want to buy something in your backyard? Are you looking to manage it yourself? Or are you looking to buy it anywhere in the country? Or maybe you have sort of you want to be north or south of that Mason-Dixon line for various reasons. But and gosh, some of the things that we care about in the States, besides being warm, maybe not seasonal, so a little south of the Mason-Dixon line, we care about politics a whole heck of a lot. So you'll hear that. I don't care about politics in my personal life nearly as much as I care about in my professional life. Because where I am buying property, I want to make sure that no one can take that from me. No one dictates things from me, that these people that are visiting all of a sudden don't get crazy rights that they wouldn't have normally. Thinking of you, blue states and California and Seattle, Washington area, you're a real pain in the butt when it comes to stuff like that. And COVID really exposed everyone for their party lines a whole heck of a lot, because the people that were protected a lot were the ones that were in those bluer states where, man, there were moratoriums of kicking people out of their homes, and landlords were just racking up the bills. They still had to pay because they don't have those mortgages. Landlords don't get those same mortgages that have a moratorium of paying. No, they just have tenants that don't pay. And you can't kick them out. I've heard horror stories from people, and they just lose their property. They give it back sometimes. It's crazy. So where do you want to buy, right? Yeah, location is a huge one. So I'm just going to drop in the chat here if I can, or maybe, let me see, I can drag this guy. Do we have our latest buy box graphic, Alf, that we can drop into there? Because I see this one here, But yeah, I want to give you an example. Kevin, you had some earlier. We're kind of looking at other buy boxes that were out there. I want to give some example to people of what buy boxes look like, so we can show and tell at the same time.
Do you want me just to share the screen?
You can, if you can share, I suppose. I wanted to drop it in the chat, though, for people, for ours specifically.
All right. I'll send as a PDF file to everybody.
Ooh, just a graphic is fine. Because you actually wouldn't want your buy box as a PDF, everyone, just so you know, because a lot of places you're going to drop it they don't allow PDFs. They allow graphics. So make sure you save it. What I like to do is just save it on my phone in my favorites. That way it's easy to find. So when I'm going on some of these groups, wherever, and I'm looking at other people's posts, they're saying, hey, I want a bird dog for people. That means I want to find you some deals, or wholesalers that are saying, hey, we've got to wholesale, but they're going to say, what's your buy box? You want to be able to drop that to them very, very fast in that scenario so that you can just give it and they know exactly what you want. Now, if you've ever dealt with bird dogs or anything, they don't always give you what you ask for, even though you very specifically say this and not that in my buy box. They'll at least you're giving them a target so that you can say that's correct or that's not correct. Yeah, so Ralph just dropped this in the chat. Yeah, and it looks like Kevin is putting a couple other ones. Check those out in the chat. Wow, that RV Park buy box that's red and blue, all American. Wow, that one looks really pretty. Whoever's that is, that's mine. That's ours, right? That's mine as the speaker. Gotta love our team for that. These other ones are also interesting. They might not look as polished, but what are they doing? The point is they're capturing your attention and they're listing that criteria. So if you're looking at our buy box, you know, some of the things that we care about, and we have all the different states that are listed in the bottom right. But for us in the top, we always want to be on waterfront, or at least be able to create something with water. Water's pretty darn powerful in general. We want 50 or more sites. There's certain operational reasons why we like to have at least 50 sites. And even so, it's operational, and it's also for a disposition side of it, because just bigger buyers, they don't want to deal with a lot of stuff that's usually less than 50 sites. So if you want to be able to sell it to more people and you want to have some efficiencies with your operational staff, because it takes the same like 2 people, and this guy and a manager to run your site, whether there's 1, 2, 10, 20, 50, kind of 60, 70, like where's that limit where you need to add another person? That's kind of why. And so there's some sweet spots, and that's what we're honing for with this buy box. Right? It's part of the condition in the top right of ours that we're looking for. And I'll share my screen so anyone that's not having that up, you can look at this as well. Like I mentioned, waterfront, 50 plus sites, an existing park, meaning we don't want to build. We don't want raw land. That's not what we're doing for us, even though we are developing land. When we're buying parks as is here, we're looking for existing parks. We want them to cash flow, ideally, pretty well. But seller must own land. Here's something that you guys might not know. A lot of times you'll find some long-term leases that are out there, 99-year leases or less, but it's something where you don't actually own the land. That creates some problems for some of your financing, both in the beginning and in the end, and for some of your taxes as well, of things that you can depreciate. So it's just something to consider. Don't you want to own the land your real estate is on? I sure as heck do. Again, it's about control, being able to know what happens in the future. For us, we want some expansion that we can do. Adding some sites to everything's really nice. Adding some pavilions, anything that we can bring more revenue in than already has. So that's some of our conditions. And our preferences, we have a hurdle, a cap rate that we're looking for, a minimum of 8% stated as is in the deal when we're buying it. And then we're going to try and expand that, of course. And if you don't know what a cap rate is, we'll end up going through that today because it's a pretty important metric as well. But functionally, it's based on your net operating income and your purchase price. So it's related to those items. And for us, we want to be near an interstate or some major attraction. We want to draw people to it. So what is in your buy box would be the question. What states do you care about more, right? Are you looking to expand, not looking to expand? You have a certain minimum site. Maybe you want to operate it yourself. So you could say, hey, let's go after the lower number sites. Maybe you want to sell to some bigger institutional buyers. You say, all right, we have to have 100 or more, 200 or more sites that are on there. And your buy box can change over time too, just so you know. But what is your buy box right now? Because when someone asks, what do you want to buy? What should I bring you? You can say, guess what? I have a buy box. Here's my graphic, super easy, and send your deals right to whatever email address you want them to send it to, right? So it's pretty clear as day at that point. So love that. So in the chat, there are some other ones, you know, What's this yellow one? I source leads for an active end buyer that is hungry for an RV park. Don't worry, she covers my fees. Look at this. So this is literally a bird dog that is working for another end buyer. So they created their own buy box because they're basically just creating a marketing flag out there. They just want to get some attention, and they put their RV park buyers criteria below. I mean, that's how you wholesale. You find that end buyer, you find out what they want to buy, their buy box, and then you go and you market their buy box to other people that are out there. See, this person has a 10% cap or higher that they're looking for, and they put a minimum NOI of $250,000. And so that's going to end up translating to a $2.5 million park with a 10% cap, but they're definitely looking at that NOI, and they have a minimum amount of acres that are in there. And so, yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, I guess open to seller financing. Yeah, that should be in our buy box too, actually. That should be part of our preferences. We definitely want seller financing on things. So that's a preferred for sure. So Ralph, make sure you make that change as well. Yeah, and this other one, yeah, this green one that we see, all right, they very much want to be near a national or state park, or at least 3 other RV parks. They don't want to be on an island. It's interesting, right? And part of that concept to me, that's like when you see a CVS that opens up shop right across the corner from a Walgreens. There's reason for it, right? Let's piggyback on the fact that someone else already did the research, a Walgreens in this instance, to make sure that the demographics of the area are good and that there's demand for all of that. So CVS just says, yep, as long as there's one of these in the area, we're good. There's a lot of other people that follow kind of that Starbucks trend for some type of retail commercial like that, where it's like there's got to be a Starbucks within a certain amount of time. I've seen that as people's buy boxes on certain multifamily. You know, it kind of tells what the demographics are, but they're leaning into Starbucks to determine that there's enough of a certain affluent market there that would want to be those Starbucks type of people. And so that's what they're doing. And so that's totally cool. That's totally cool because you're just leveraging someone else that has more marketing and research dollars at that point. So yeah, good criteria. So this is where I'm saying you want to come up with your buy box. That's going to be the very first thing. Otherwise, you're going to be spending tons and tons and tons of time analyzing deals because you don't really know what the heck you're looking for, right? And that's fine when you're just kind of starting out, but this is why I'm saying your first step is buy box. And then you can be real fast, real fast. And so today we're going to take you through our 60-second analysis, our 5-minute analysis, and our 30-minute analysis sheet. And you're not going to do all of those sequentially. And I'll show you that, but we're going to go through them one at a time just to see if people fall out of there, see if any deals fall out of that. So we're only going to spend 60 seconds at most to look at a deal to determine if we should spend another 5 minutes on it later. And this is how you can sift through lots of deals very quickly. And this is what I used to do. I mean, I still do, but I used to do when I was much more into single family homes is I could look at it just quickly, like less than 10 seconds. For an RV park, all right, we're giving it a full 60 seconds, but 10 seconds for a deal to see if it's even worth my time. Nope, delete email. Nope, delete email. All of that. Interesting. Lana, I was going to ask how intuition plays a role. So very interesting. Let me give you quick background. So I'm an engineer and an architect, which is a very much methodical thinking type of person. My wife literally teaches people to hone their intuition in life, and she's an intuitive energy healer. And so when we met, she definitely stretched me in that regard to use my intuition more. And the intuition, if you guys don't know, it's essentially your gut feeling, right? It's the feeling in your gut, like this feels right. This feels good. This feels bad. So do I use my intuition and completely get rid of my engineering brain now that my wife has shown me the ways and the power of the intuition? No, but it's an and. It's an and instead of an or. So I would say, yes, sure, Lana, use your intuition a little bit. Put that on this sheet that we're talking about here, and I'm going to show you a little bit more. Put that on there because it's something, and it's something that you can measure. Does your intuition give it a nudge forward, yes or no, right? And that might be part of it. But I'm going to tell you that banks don't use intuition. Your lenders and your partners like that, they don't use the intuition to determine if you're going to qualify for a loan or anything. So you definitely have to use some numbers within it. I mean, napkin math at first, that turns into more than napkin math. But yeah, you can certainly use your intuition. And part of your intuition is like, would you want to go to this place? You know, because if you want to go there, other people probably want to go there too. So that's this intangible type of thing, which again goes to your intuition. So sure, that can play a role in some of it, but you know, it's then you're gonna have to tease out some other aspects, like how much more would you pay if your intuition nudged you yes versus no on something? And are you getting emotional at this point? Are you emotionally invested in it? Or are you more like just in the numbers? Because when you're starting out, especially, you get emotional. I mean, shucks, we're all getting emotional about deals the whole time, but you have to just be able to separate your emotions from it, because at some point, the yes to buying a deal becomes a no when it's just too much money. The things that you find during due diligence, they don't work. So you have to be able to step away from it. So be careful of that emotional attachment that you have, which I'm kind of equating a little bit to the intuition, because how I said you would value it, you'd value going to it. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question in a very detailed way. Cool. All right. So we have our buy box and we've shared ours with you. So we've got all that. So the next thing that I want to do is to get you in. We have this really cool Google sheet, this lead analysis sheet. And I'm first going to show you it in general, and then we'll give you access to it. But Ralph, I don't know if there was a link for people to sign up to get access to that from our website, if that's something that we have that's on there.
Yeah. So right now it's just the password for it.
Okay.
And then we're gonna have them being able to create the profile and getting their own password and access.
Okay. There you go. You got it. So for today, it's real easy. Get you guys in here. So I'm going to put a link here in the chat. That is our website, maverickasherinvestments.com. And I'm going to walk you through and sharing my screen to get you to some of our resources with this. So first off, you're just going to scroll all the way to the bottom. Look at all the wonderful things that you can have your friends, your family invest in. Scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll find this resources tab. And that gives you access to here. And then the password is in uppercase challenge.
It actually goes to the wrong sheet. Yeah, it goes to the one that's already filled in. That doesn't go to the template.
Okay. So we're going to have Ralph change some things with that in the background. But yeah, this gives you access here. This is what we have. And so for this workshop series, this is what we're working on today, this lead analysis template. But we've got a lot of other things along the way that we're giving as well, because after you get your lead, you're going to have to submit an LOI. And from there, a purchase agreement. From there, you're going to have your due diligence that you're going to work through. And you're going to need a much more robust financial model than just some background napkin, back of the napkin math for that. So what we're doing is we're sharing all the different resources that we've used and developed over time, and we're just cleaning them up and rebranding them so that you guys can use them as well. So you'll see these are coming soon, but there's a download link that'll be in there. Apparently that one is not the correct one. So what I'll do is I will copy this one and put this into the chat for y'all. And then you can go right to here, because this is where you would get if you were clicking download. Oh, if you guys don't have experience with Google Sheets, you'll get in here and you'll start poking around. You'll see these different tabs that are in the bottom, right? It's like an Excel sheet, but online you can work on it. So Start Here tab. This has our American Modern Parks brand. Gives you a little bit of instructions. You can enter in your hurdle for your cap rate and your number of your pads. And if you wanted a bird dog for us, this is how you would do it, because this is our buy box. And you could always send us deals and make money and everything that way, gain some experience. But it's also giving you a wonderful example of what you should do so that you can have a buy box for others. From here, we've got our 60-second analysis, our 5-minute analysis, and our 30-minute analysis. And there's some coding that we put in the background so that anything that makes it in the end here, when we say we're going to go through all this different criteria and it's going to land on, do you want to move that to the 5-minute analysis? You click yes, and it'll automatically populate something like here. I'll just put, Kevin's going to hate me because I'm going to have to undo this because this is all the template, but like just real quickly, it'll show up here on the second one as a test, right? It's test, it's showing up there. It wasn't there before, but that's the point is we've got some logic that's built into this, and see now it doesn't show up. Logic built into this to help you guys out. So good stuff with all that. But you're not able to type in this because it's a template. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the top and you're going to hit make a copy. So you go to file and make a copy from that link that I gave you. It says, do you want to make a copy? Yes. Hit name it whatever you want. Copy of American Parks. Great. You're going to make a copy. Then it will show it's up as a copy. And then you can edit everything on that. So now this one would be yours. It says copy of whatever, and you can say my lead analysis template and all of that. And you can move on from there and start editing it and following along. But we're going to do at this point, so you guys have access to that. Cool. And Ralph has fixed the link on the website. So if you went to the website now, and anyone listening on the podcast, you can go to the website and click on that first one and get access to this template as well. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to start taking you guys through analyzing something really quickly. Because the name of the game, remember, it's just to move through it quickly. Is this deal even worth my time to put another 60 seconds in? That's it. And mostly you're looking for no's because you want to find that one deal that's worth spending a month on, right? To go and actually visit, do the due diligence and do all of that. So you can't do that to everything. So we want lots of good ones that come through so that we find a great one in the future. So what we're going to do is, I know that Kevin took us through a little bit here and filled some things out in another copy that he made. So you guys can play around and use your own template at your place. But what we're going to do is share and walk you through this a little bit to give you an idea of, what we're doing. And Kevin, I don't know if while we're doing this, if you want to bring that up, but if you have like the original listings that these came from, is that the link? We have the link? Yeah, we do. Okay. So great. That's why we have this wonderful sheet. So we can take you through that whole process of what that looks like. All right. And yeah, and Mo, great. He said question. And so anyone, if you got questions along the way, if you want to speak them to me, I would just ask if you raised your hand. There's a little hand raising button on the bottom. If you really can't seem to find that for some reason, just unmute and kind of interrupt us. We'll deal with that because I don't want technology to be an option for my education and not making unnecessary assumptions are an appropriate investment option. Okay, Mo, well, this is like an investing type of question. Do you want to unmute a little bit? I'd love to tease that out for you.
I was trying to use good, but I wasn't quite sure. So it's more just looking for information as to why go in the RV park route versus multifamily, for example.
Yeah, sure. Do you invest in multifamily right now? Is that a yes? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this for you personally or for someone
Yes.
else?
This
Okay.
is for me personally. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess it's a little bit of everyone's personal preference, what asset class you want to invest in. It's kind of personal for a bunch of different reasons. But, right now, multifamily is extremely competitive. It's overpriced because everyone paid a lot more than they should have during the COVID times when the interest rates were low. And there are just some issues that are a little bit harder to deal with, like having to evict people versus an RV park where you drag them out if they don't pay. I mean, that's always nicer. I've had to evict a lot of people and I've really wanted to drag them out of my homes, but I wasn't allowed to. But, here with RV parks, you just drag them out and that's kind of fun, right? Oops, sorry. And the sheriff will be right there with you saying, yeah, you didn't pay today. You got to go. So basically that summarizes into there's not as many tenant laws. They don't have those tenant protections because they're not a tenant at that point. They're just a very short-term guest that you have. Unless you're doing a longer-term play, longer-term tenancy RV park, but I guess that's a different conversation with that. And so that's a reason why I really love them. You don't have to clean the unit when they're gone. Like you don't have to fix things that they mess up. You don't have to renovate the unit every decade or two for a new bathroom and kitchen because they bring their own bathrooms and kitchens. And, in general, you're just basically taking care of a pad where all your infrastructure is under the ground. It's a lot more durable than building and things like that. And you can just power wash it off when they leave. If it's fancy concrete or gravel, Mother Nature takes care of that and you're good. So there's tons and tons of reasons. And, it was a whole episode, like one of the first ones that we did was kind of talking about why we love RV parks versus multifamily, that question that you're asking right there. So that answer I gave you was a lot more detailed on the podcast because we went and we took about 40 minutes to dive in detail about why that. Because then there's another question of why would you want an RV park versus a mobile home park? Because those are kind of related entities, asset classes, and they're very different though. And that was a whole other episode in the podcast. So if you want to dive deep into that, definitely check out that Invest In podcast. I'll drop that link in the chat so that you can do that. And if you're listening on the podcast, just listen to one of the previous episodes from that. Because Mo, I get it. RV parks were not on your radar. They were not on mine either until I was a consultant about it, found how lucrative the darn things were because you make a lot more money per site than anyone else. And I was searching for something that filled my soul and that I could teach my little boys everything in the world at the same time. And RV parks were like, holy smokes, the best thing ever that you just get to enjoy all around. It's just a fun thing. So yeah, I would derail this whole workshop if I were to go into any more detail than that. So I hope that answers your question sufficiently. All right. So let's get into this. I see that, Kevin, you are sharing. You've got your screen up. You're on the original tab of this. So again, you've got some details in here. You can pop in the cap rate and the minimum number of pads. But let's get going and let's just start analyzing a deal that we have. Give some experience with that. So we'll pop over to the tab at the bottom. 60-second buy box. So if you look at these different ones at the bottom, 60-second, because it's our buy box criteria. So that's it. So really challenge yourself to get it under 60 seconds when you're not having a bunch of people looking over your shoulder and everything, when you're just focused on it, right? And then the other tabs, they say 5 minutes for your LOI. The reason from this is we've got a little more analysis we do, and at the end of it, it should be sufficient enough that you can throw out an LOI really quickly. It's a letter of intent. We've got one of those that we can give you guys too, a template, and it's meant to be fast because you're just trying to get some feel from the seller at that point of what's going on. But we want to do it fast. You don't want to analyze for weeks just to send out an LOI to find out that someone else already got a purchase agreement signed with them, right? But you want to do it in a way where you're feeling confident about your offer too. So it's that balance. So we'll spend a whole 5 minutes analyzing something for that. And then we've got that 30 minutes for the PSA, the purchase and sale agreement. This is after your LOI is accepted. Like, let's just dig in a little bit more for that to see if there's anything else that you should put in a purchase and sale agreement prior to drafting all of that up together. So that's what we got at the bottom to move you through and save your time to work efficiently as we are working quickly. So, all right. And Kevin, feel free to pop in whenever to help explain some things, but we can see here that, you've popped in a couple in here already, some deals that you found somewhere.
Yeah, and I just want to show real quick before we move forward. You'll see the cap rate here and the minimum number of pads at 50 over here. That's what it's talking about here when you're changing these values, is all it's doing is just changing the values here. So I'll just go ahead and show you. I'll change that 8 to a 10, that to a 35, and it just changes that there. So no worries there. That's just to help you out as a tool to help you minimize the time you're spending on this and kind of get your buy box ready. So so these 3 that I put in here are just ones that I went to on like rvparkstore.com. There's a few other websites like Campground Marketplace. There's Crexy, just other websites that market the RV parks, and just grab some basic information from the website. So we put the park name, what state it's in, is it an existing park? Because sometimes they'll put up a plan that has all the entitlements for it, but it's not built yet. So They may have a site plan and all sorts of pretty pictures for you, but they're just renderings. It's not an actual park. Is it on a waterfront or able to create a water feature? Cap rate, minimum. Is the expansion possible? A lot of parks will have plenty of acres, but they just have like maybe 20 pads. So is there room to expand? Is there insert nearby? The seller on the land, minimum pads, and so on. The fields that are gray are going to be auto-calculated, so you don't have to enter anything in there. And just to move on through here, the advertised cap rate, it has you put it in here manually, but later on in the next tab, it'll auto-calculate it for you. So even if they put the wrong one in, which does happen, they'll put a much higher cap rate than it actually is. It'll tell you what the actual cap rate is later on. Is it an on or off market deal? The number of days it's been on market, the URL of the listing, and then the big one of deciding, do you move it to the 5 minutes or do you not move it up? Then there's where the lead come from and the zip code. So just for these three here, I put on all that information. This top one here, 37 units, they're asking 1.3 million. It auto calculates the price per pad, and you put in the NOI. They didn't have an advertised cap rate, so I had to leave that blank and just fill all the information here. So from the first three, you can see really easily that the price per pad, we got a 35,000, a 61,000, and a like almost 11,000 price per pad. And when you look at the number of units, you can tell like, okay, well, the higher number of units you get, the cheaper it's going to be per pad. So this is why putting all this information together makes it a really quick 60-second decision of, is this worth looking at closer? Because the 61,000 per pad, that doesn't seem like a great deal, but there might be other stuff that makes it a better deal. Maybe there's other amenities or whatnot. So when we click on the move to 5 minute, that's where it'll update the next tab. Before I move on to that, Zach, do you want me to go through a new one, putting it in, or just go and move on to the next tab? Or do you want to say anything more about this one?
Well, I'd love to do one. So yeah, either going through one of those that are existing, but might as well go to a new one. Yeah, might as well go to a new one, and then we'll see how all these ones factor over. But yeah, and Rhonda put those links to the RV Park store and Crexy into the chat as well. There's a bunch of other sites for that. And then, of course, there's off-market deals. We're going to get into finding deals in the next workshop series. But I wanted to make sure that you had something to analyze deals before we found you a whole bunch of deals. Otherwise, you'd just be itching to analyze them next time. So, okay. So we've got a deal that's here. This one piqued your fancy for whatever reason, or at least we're going to pretend that it does. I mean, it's got a cap rate. I saw that down there of 11.2. So that's already over our cap rate hurdle that we want to see. So that's good.
Yep. And this one doesn't look like it's very big. It's got 16 full hookups, full term, 3 standalone rental units, and 3.5 acres. So do you want to enter all this information in, or we're just going to look at the...
Well, I might be able to enter some in as well while we're going through here. And then I'm putting this in the chat. Does anyone there have any deals that you'd like to quick analyze? Because we could take your deal and pop it in here and start to analyze it for you. Kind of the point is that we can do stuff with that. And Lana's real fast to get something that's there. So cool. Do that one next. Let's walk through this.
All right. One thing I want to point out here is I just kind of color coded these states. The green are ones that are typically year round. The blue are the ones that are typically seasonal. And then we have Hawaii out there. That's its own little island. That's just what those colors mean. All right. So that's an existing park. Does that have a water feature? I'm not seeing anything in the pictures with water. It's 3.5 acres. I'm not seeing, there's a little pond right there. Okay, so we're going to put yes, cap rate yes. So for expansion, no. Although I suppose you could buy that land.
Yeah. In my mind, for expansion, it's always like, is it for sale now? Because you can buy anyone's land, but do they want to sell it is the kicker. Ideally, it would be all part of the deal that you have.
Yep. All right, then we got, and they wanted 15. Let's see, did they put a cap rate? That was like 11.2. And it is on the market. If we put it on here, posted on 27th. So it's at like 8 days on the market-ish. Let's put 8 and just copy that, paste that into the URL, and move to 5 minutes. So we're going to go and say yes, so we can go and go to the next tab. Here it's pulled it forward along with the other ones I put yes on. So there's the Indian Trails. It pulled over the state, pulled over the asking price. You'll see it didn't pull over the number of pads because it can, we want to kind of break it down into the type of pads. So this one doesn't have cabins or glamping pads or marina slips or storage units. So we're just going to move over the 16 pads there. Over here, all the gray fields it pulled over. So yeah, the NOI and the calculated cap rate is 11.15. And we just kind of check it against here and they put 11.2. It's close enough. So we moved it forward. So now we want to get more detailed. And this is where the 5-minute comes in. But we want to see what we know about it. Is it seller financing, cash, equity? Right now, we don't know. They didn't list it on there. What features does it have? So there's a list of features here, but you can always edit and add more if you want to specify certain ones that you're looking for. Right here, we're just going to put gravel roads. I didn't see a beach, cabins. Let's see, was there a clubhouse in those pictures? Looks like there's something there. Bathrooms, but I'm not really seeing much of a clubhouse. It looks more like an office. Go to the mini, the bathhouse and laundromat and Wi-Fi. So there's no clubhouse. There's no pool. There's no boat ramp, manager's home, marina, nothing. Let's leave that as is. These fields are just blank, and we have the fields we want to move it forward. But over here, Zach, if you want to kind of explain these for the LOI of why we have these columns in here.
Yeah, sure. So I guess, so you feel good about the 60-second analysis portion of it. You've got something that passes over to the 5-minute analysis. And usually we're batching things up to be as efficient as possible. So let's just, go through, and then we move things on. And we tend to do this on a team and just tackle these like this. But yeah, for all these different tabs, I guess you've gone through most of those, right? That's fine. But these next ones over here, what do you like? What do you don't like? Are there any questions for the seller? Any notes for the LOI? Price for the LOI? What's the contact? Where do you take in it? And what's those next steps? Just some items of all right, keeping track of it. But this, I would say, Lana, like you were saying with your intuition, what do you like? What do you like about it? But even either your intuition or your logical side of your brain, or both, ideally, what do you like about it? Is it the cap rate? Is it the area? Something is speaking to you. Keep track of it, because that's all that this sheet is really trying to do. Is it's trying to keep track of all of your ideas and all of your thoughts when you're going through a ton of underwriting, initial underwriting of things. So you get confused and you don't remember what's what. So yeah, what do you like about it? What do you not like? These like and not like, it can turn into negotiating points too for some aspects of it, right? Because if you don't like it, there's a certain reason why. Maybe it's because it's too close to something else, or it's not close enough to something else to have people driving there. But there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. You're just trying to keep track of them. And then the questions for seller, that comes into, well, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know just from one of these listings, especially. Sometimes like they'll just give you gross revenue for things. They don't actually give you the net revenue. And we need the net for things. So that might be a question for the seller. Could be lots of other things. My question I'm always going to ask the seller is, can we do some type of creative financing with all of this? And even, what's your reason for selling, right? Has it been working out really well and you're just trying to cash out at this point? Or is it not working well for them? And why is it not working well? But you're going to have a bunch of different questions for the seller whenever you do get to talk with them. And so this is I just try to stay as organized as possible, because you imagine that you can have a question that hits your mind at any point, a thought that hits your mind at any point about something. And if you don't keep track of that idea, that thought could be gone immediately. So by having access to this guy, we have access to it on our phones. So you'd literally be able to jot a note down from anywhere at any point, and you'd be able to reference it from anywhere at any point as well. And your teammates would be able to know what the heck is going on. And so that's where you start to get your questions. And then from there, you write some notes that are in there, maybe the answers to those questions, right? Are they open to seller financing? Are there any restrictions that are they need to fast to analyze the deal to move forward? what do they want out of it? What's their motivating factors for selling it? If they tell you that they want to move and spend time with family and et cetera, it's like, well, okay, good. I don't want to forget that because they're literally telling you their why of selling. And so you want to keep track of all of that. But who knows? It could just be a note about what we want to do to improve it. Like, oh, hey, this one would make really great one for a water park, or it's right next to the Grand Canyon. So, man, we should do this and somehow partner with that. Just any of your thoughts, right? Just, I love having lots of different columns for organized thoughts. And then the next column over is your price. So, what's your price for your LOI? And that is going to come from a factor of what your cap rate is, what you're willing to pay for it, and their asking price, and your strategy. And usually when I'm sending out LOIs for things, I like to give people multiple offers. And we're going to be talking about offers and structuring deals in another one of these series because there's a lot that goes into that. But I'll typically offer them a cash price for something, and then I'll have a creative price that's on the end, the third one for something. And so it might be this, seller carryback of 70%, so down with 30% and carryback of 70%. And that's the criteria that I'll put for the third option. And the LOI that I put in the middle is usually like a leading type of like a one that nudges them to be either a cash or an all financing option. It's usually structure it where one of them probably doesn't make sense for them to take it. It's just to lead them to get to the next one. They'd be like, I'd rather pick one of these two. It's like, yeah, I get that you would. They're very polar opposites, and that's what this other option is meant to give you. So again, I'll get into that more when we have real examples and structuring the deal. But yeah, what's that price that you're willing to put? And so maybe this isn't just maybe a number, but this is you thinking about what those different options are, like a cash price, seller finance, all of this. And so, yeah, from there, what's the contact? You're going to have to get into contact of somebody. If you're looking on Crexy or you're looking on, one of these on market, meaning it's listed for sale in these on market sites, then you're going to have a realtor, and that's going to be your contact. So probably you'll have a phone number, probably an email address, and probably have their name as well. So all of that is just great to put right here because you've got the link to the website. That's cool, but that's back on your second analysis. You've got that still there, but you don't want to have to look it up again. If it's something where you're moving forward, what's your contact? And then if you are doing off market, maybe it's a wholesaler that you're talking to, or maybe it's you're direct to the seller and it's the seller's contact information, which, by the way, a lot of these sellers are just the phone number for the RV park because they own it themselves, answer the phone. They've done it for 20, 30 years. So I would say, probably half the time, if you ask to talk to the seller when you call a number for an RV park, they're like, well, this is right here, right? Or not the seller, but the owner at that point, if you're trying to see if someone wants to sell. But yeah, so that, and then just these two columns, actions taken and next steps. I just always like to document what I've done. So in this case, it might be sent an LOI because we finished that out, sent 3 LOIs. Next steps would be to follow up and make sure that they saw it, get their feel on it, figure out which one makes sense for them. But then that's it. And then once you are able to do that, you send that off, then you're good. And so, yeah, there's a couple tabs that Kevin has right there that he's putting on that. So do you want to bring it forward to the 30-minute analysis already? I would say if there isn't an accepted LOI, don't waste your time. Because again, we're not trying to waste time analyzing deals. We're just trying to wait and to move with poise. So, and he's got a revisit later on there. Why would that end up coming up? So problem is, like, there's lots of scenarios where it just needs a little bit of time. Maybe they're asking too much money for it, but we really like the area, so let's just come back to it later. Or it's not as sweet as some other ones, Lots of different reasons that we could come back to it, but it's kind of just like it's not the worst, it's not the best. Like, let's just wait on that. So that kind of solves that one. But yeah, so that's the idea for that. And yeah, if anyone else has any deals that they'd like to analyze, feel free to pop them in the chat and we can pull them up. I know that there was one that was up here. Lana had a deal from the RV Park store. I don't know, Kevin, if you want to pull that one up. It looks like it's from Hot Springs Glamp Camp. I don't know why that doesn't roll off my tongue right. It stumbles me. Hot Springs Glamp Camp.
Start over here at the beginning, lower that a little bit. All right, so let's take a look. We're New Mexico. So we're going to put that in here.
And while he's moving a little bit of that, filling things in, yep. He's got all that. I see Lonnie, are there any questions off limits for the seller? You can ask them anything. They just might not answer some of it, right? But usually they'll answer lots of normal questions like their NOI, like why are they selling? Like, stuff like that. They're reasonable questions. How has the last year been? Does it have this? Does it have that? The more intrusive you are, of course, you'll find their limit, and it's good to know your seller. So, ask them, but finding some motivations are good. All right. So Kevin's moving real quickly here, moving back and forth, reading things, seeing like, all right, what's it have here? Now he's trying to maybe try and count units because sometimes they don't always make it easy. And a lot of times you're not going to have enough information. A lot of times they'll end up hiding some information perhaps behind like a gateway, like a deal room type of gateway. So if you're not signed in to rvparkstore.com or crexy.com, you can't have access to the files that are there. Sometimes they don't even give you all the files that you need, and they'll have you sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, before you'd actually get those financials that we need. Sometimes they'll give you the NOI, but if you want their T12 or whatever, you gotta fill things out, and that's fine. For the most part, I think you're fine to sign any NDA. That big of a deal. They just don't want all their financial information being blasted out there. So he's looking at where this is, looking how close. Oh, right next to I-25.
Yep. Just kind of get the distance so we can fill that in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll let you speak a little bit more as you're doing things to, show where you're getting information too.
Yeah. I just pretty much grab anything that I can see directly on the listing. And like Zach said, sometimes you got to contact the agent. Sometimes you got to sign into the website to get more information or contact the seller. But at this stage, we're just grabbing exactly what we can to see if it's worth anything. And if it's really easy to get the information just by signing into the website or whatever, then great. But unless you're really interested in the property, I typically don't take too much time on a single property. Trying to grab the information. So I had to leave a few of these blank because it just was not on there. They did not list the NOI. Of course, they didn't list if he owns the land, but you can assume, but never assume. Just make sure that's one of the questions you ask later. So I'm going to go ahead and put yes on this one as for moving forward so we can get to the next tab.
But part of the problem is that, let's go back to that real quickly. What I don't like about this is they're not giving us any type of financial information with this, right? There's no advertised cap rate, no NOI. We can't tell how much money they're actually making with this. There's only 12 units that are there. So it's going to be a little boutique one. And it's on 0.6 acres. So it's small, right? Which means less grass to mow. If we're trying to be positive about something, but I like land. Okay, so yeah, so this wouldn't meet our buy box criteria, but Lena, that wasn't the point, obviously, right? It's for you on this. But yeah, and even go ahead.
Sorry, one of the things here is just the price per pad. You mentioned it's 12 pads for $675. Well, that's $56,000 per pad. But we also see here that it's been on the market for 210 days, give or take. So, maybe this is worth digging into if you're looking for small parks, is you can see what is their NOI? Are they losing money or are they making money? Is it worth that price? If not, maybe you could lowball them, throw them something really low, and maybe they'll bite on it. I mean, there's room to negotiate.
Yeah. And so that's why we like days on market, is because, I mean, they haven't bought it. Do they have to sell it? Because they're not doing a great job of that if they are. So we can talk to them about their motivation. And just like Kevin said, we can give them a lowball cash offer. We can give him potentially an offer at their asking price with some seller finance terms. That gets me more excited than the other things that are in there. But yeah, that's the type of information that we're gleaming off of this real quickly, even though we have a lack of information.
I was going to say that I have seen a couple of deals out there where the owner is willing to 100% finance and doesn't really need any money down, will train the next person coming in. He just has too much going on and just wants to get rid of the park. So, I mean, you never know what's out there. A lot of these mom and pops are open to financing, so it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because a lot of them, they'll own things free and clear as well. So lots of possibilities with that. So, okay. So then we're saying, yes, we're going to move on to the next tab, assuming like it's piquing our interest. So that's what Kevin did. So we're moving on to that 5-minute analysis tab. Just keep going through, looking at stuff.
And then let's see the pool, automatic clubhouse, storage manager's office.
Yeah, and Lana, you have a question in there. Can you pick and choose your guests, such as women only? No offense to men. And no, the questions are good. So yeah, can you pick and choose your guests? I'd like to pick and choose them, the ones that have money, but maybe you're creating a certain feel that's just in there. Since it is a short-term rental type of thing, it's a lot different than if it was a multifamily long-term rentals, because long-term rentals, they have what's called protected classes: age, sex, religion, lots of different criteria. And there's some slight variations from state to state, but mostly it's across the board. But short-term rentals, not as much. I mean, they could have, like you can imagine, Airbnb, they have a bad reputation, a bad review on them. You don't have to rent to them, right? And you could certainly have a men or all women, and you would just advertise that's what this is at this location. Gosh, there was one where we came across a nudist colony. And so you had to be comfortable with that to go there, I imagine. It was not an optional thing. It was not a value add that you go on. But you definitely have to start marketing to that and find managers and maintenance people that are all cool with that. And of course, the more you niche down, you make it unique to certain people. It could really attract them, but you just have to make sure that that demographic of people know about it, because you're obviously limiting the amount of people that can come in there. Oh, you came across some as well, Rhonda? Men only one?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, in Texas.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I did walk that properly. Fortunately, it wasn't busy on Mondays.
Did you say fortunately?
Fortunately for me that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. That day. Yeah. It wasn't busy, fortunately. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. And then as we were looking at it, we liked some of the numbers, but it was just like, and do you keep it like that? Like it was obviously that was the draw, was that, people would go there for that, like-minded people.
I told Rick we needed to only look at the numbers for that one.
Lana's saying, what do you guys think of the New Mexico one ultimately? Is that this one that we're asking about? Or yes, because, this Hot Springs Glam Camp. Well, let's take a look. And probably, so for me, our minimum that we like to have is 50. So I would say it's just too small. There's no options for expansion. And so it doesn't fit our buy box. And so when you're asking, what do we think of that one? That would be my answer, is that we know what we like, we know what we want. And so it wouldn't be a good one for us. Could it still make money? Could there be possibilities with that? Sure. Now that's why we want everyone to come up with their own buy box that makes sense for them to start. And Ralph, you've got your hand up.
From the marketing perspective, that is almost like a boutique campsite, right? So especially if she's looking to go such niche, right? So that would require a specific social media. You would have you have to turn that into a thing, not just advertise just to everybody. I like it. I think it looks very distinct, and it's got nice features that shows a very specific type of audience that likes to go there. So I'm looking from the marketing perspective, how marketable it is and who is the audience that this would fall into, right?
Yeah, and I love that perspective. That's why I really appreciate, Ralph, you popping in and saying that, because I wanted to give a polarized answer, which for me would be a no on this. And this is where just my mind is black and white. We want this. This is not that, so it's not good for us. But yeah, look at some of these pictures that are on here, and it's a unique place to go. Like, would I buy it versus would I go there and enjoy it, are slightly different answers, right? But I mean, it's cool. They got little hot tubs. It looks cute. It's colorful. You know, it looks like it's a fun place to be. It's hard, for one, it's hard for me to tell if it makes good money though, as is, or where there's some issues with it because it's just missing those financials. But if this is the type that you're looking for, then yeah, it's cute. And it says that it's turnkey. So it says has an established client base, excellent reviews, and a strong reputation for providing premium wellness experiences. So because of that, you know, if that's what you're looking for, then that's great. You can ride the coattails of something that's already there. And since it's been on the market for a while, I love the fact that they're probably open to some creative offer. And you might be able to use this stack method. Like we've got the speaker coming in next month in the meetup where you can get money in your bank account by buying it. So that aspect I like about it. But for me, the things I also think about is like, how is this going to be managed? You're going to have someone manage it, boots on the ground. That's not me in sunny Ohio right now. I'm not making my way there whenever there's a problem. So how do you manage that aspect of it? And how do those expenses compare? Basically, I would want to know, how have they managed this throughout the year? And that's what their T12 would tell me is, have they been doing it themselves? Do they pay someone for that? You'd be able to see that in the financials pretty quickly. But because it doesn't meet my criteria, I'm like 60 seconds, you know, me explaining all this is way more than it would be in real life. Just be like, nope, not for us. That's cool. But I want you guys to get the details. Pardon?
That is the importance of the buy box, that you set your clear criteria so that you can kind of take your emotion out of it and just look like, well, I've already established this is my buy box. It doesn't fit within it. Let me move on. So that helps you not get stuck on something. I mean, the first thing I'd be looking at is what is their NOI, because they'd have to be making around, I mean, minimum 50,000 on their NOI for me to even think it was viable. I mean, if I just put that in there, that's going to bring it forward to, even that would be like a 7.4 cap rate. Looking at the number of spaces and the area that it's in, I don't think it's making that much money. So that means the price would have to come way down, or like I said, creative financing. So I would also say no on this one, but you know, it might be right if someone wanted to retire there and just run it themselves. But as far as like a business, you know, money-making venture, I wouldn't think that one would be making a whole lot of money.
You know, the one thing it's catering to is just that whole outdoor and wellness type of experience. And they've got these hot springs tubs, and I can imagine that you could do that. You could have some upsells that people are buying to really have that wellness experience. And that's cool. That's big right now. Right. And I think health, wellness, and mindfulness is just going to get bigger and bigger as the years go by. So that concept isn't bad. But again, I want to just stress, like, how are you going to operate it? There's many ways of doing it, but how are you going to operate it? But what have they done? Just, it's so much easier to see what they've done with their numbers. There isn't emotion that's in there because they're going to tell you a long story of what they've done. But I want to see on the black and white what they've done to make money or not make money. And then if they're making money hand over fist on it, then maybe that price is justified. It's like, okay, that's fine. And because it's a low number, that a low number of sites, that itself could be part of the reason why the days on market are high, because just a lot of people are looking for more sites, but it doesn't have to be the only reason.
Yeah, we've seen a few properties in Florida that had a low number of sites, but it was like right on the beach, and they had a high price per day for their pads. So it actually made more sense than the 50 pads, because it just making a lot of money.
Yeah. And Rhonda absolutely puts that in the chat. Think about how many revenue streams is it creating and could you add more? And I would imagine the answer is always yes, that you can add more. Guys, it's just going to be a matter of how creative are you thinking, putting yourself into the customer's shoes, creating an awesome, memorable experience for them. But yeah, it's a great question of where's all the revenue coming from right now? Have they tapped into any of that extra revenue or none of it? So you're looking at your upside potential at that point. But that's what we wouldn't want to get into until this 5-minute analysis one. That next one is where you really, those are some of your questions. And that's where you would write them down in that questions for the seller, assuming that you want to buy what I'm going to call a micro park. This would be something under 20 pads would be a micro park, just tiny, which is cool. It's fine.
Right. Because there's always additional revenue streams from like renting hot tubs or putting in vending machines or a store or whatever. So there's always options. We ready to move on to the next tab?
Yeah, sure. So, all right. We did our analysis. Are we on the 5-minute? Are we looking at that one or are we moving past that one now?
We just looked at the 5-minute tab. So now we're moving on to the 30-minute.
Okay. So the 5-minute tab. So assume one of these two ended up making it on past our test where we were giving and putting out an LOI after that 5-minute analysis, and we're getting something back. We're hearing something. Basically, the way that I view it is if we hear something back from the LOI, whether it's a yes or a no, but basically we're in a conversation at that point. That's when I tend to start just filling things in a little bit more on this next 30-minute tab, because they're going to be answering some questions of things. Yeah, I'm going to want to know what's the expansion potential for this place. And they might say it's like, oh, it's worth more because blank, 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 blank. You couldn't tell those things from just the listing that's there. So you're learning about it. And so this is where we just keep tabs of all that stuff, either the columns on the 5-minute one or just starting to fill this out. But yeah, so other things. So all these gray items are automatically carried over. So you don't have to fill them out, which is the nice thing. Carries them over. And we're starting to look at what else at this point? The Google reviews and the number of those Google reviews. So this goes into how good of a job have they done in keeping customers satisfied. And some of those ones, I would say, while that's coming up there, part of this is to read some of those Google reviews. Usually not the good ones, but usually the bad ones. You want to read to see what's going on, because you're going to do some great stuff with RV parks when you're owning it and all your new ideas, I'm going to presume. But you want to see what people are asking for, what they're craving, or what is not there currently. And so what those problems are. And you're going to use those problems like as ammunition for lowering the price. It's all part of a negotiation. So you want to find things that are wrong. You want to find things wrong for many reasons, because you want to flush things out to see any of that ahead of time. There's usually a reason why. So, all right, this one's got 4.9 stars with 250 reviews. Look at that. I'm not too surprised about that, right? It's a boutique thing. They said that it's been working well, and established client base. So, repeat customers, which are great, strong reputation for premium wellness experience. I mean, that's cool. So people are digging it. So then you're just going to say, all right, with the value add, like how can I add more space to it? A little bit difficult, perhaps right here, or make the experience more, upsell them on different things, either experiences or items to sell.
And just, so you can go through the ratings. You can just, like Zach said, look at the lowest and look at the highest. You want to see the good and the bad. So I just sorted this by lowest rating, and make sure you're looking at the date as well, because some of these are going to be very recent. Some of them may be 10 years old and not relevant anymore. Except they're complaining about an old manager that has since been replaced. Then it's not going to be that relevant. Just do your research.
But it's funny, that one from 11 months ago, it was like right at the top. It was short. It was just like this. The area was a dump. It looked very sketch. Don't waste your time. Interesting. I wonder. Yeah.
Well, I can see where they're coming from. I mean, look at the street view, and immediately what you can see over here is what looks like either low income housing or maybe some sort of rental thing. You're seeing, spray paint on the side.
Right.
So that's not really looking like, oh, sorry, that is mural art, but from a distance, it doesn't look like anything. But at first, I thought it was like someone spray painted. It didn't look like tagging or anything. It just looks
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean,
It looks
I
a
mean,
little ticky-tacky, a little hodgepodge.
it is right next to the Rio Grande, Rio Grande River. So that is a plus. Yeah, looking at I already passed the Google reviews.
Yeah, and Rick, good point. You know, he mentions often bad reviews are because they were unhappy about having to follow the rules. I often will throw out some of the bad ones. And so, yeah, you're not looking at these like it's the gospel. You're just trying to gleam into it. And you know that those bad ones, there's something that's going on with them. You know, they could have a bad day. And so, and a lot of times, unless there's a good system for posting positive reviews, which you guys should all implement, like reward people for posting positive reviews, because there's a lot of people that will only post bad reviews. Like, when are you motivated to post a review? When they're good? I mean, not most of the time. Not me. I'll tell you that. I'm not necessarily motivated. I'm like, they're good. That felt good. But when it's bad, I almost feel an obligation to let other people know that it was bad so that they don't have that experience that I just had. That's me posting stuff. Now, if someone gave me a free cookie to post a good review, that might be enough. You know, it might just be enough. Like, okay, I'm sitting here right now in my wellness tub. Let me post about it. And the cookies are really great too. You know, I'd put that in my review, right?
So
Uh,
another thing to think about is people love to leave negative reviews
yeah.
because why would they go someplace and post a negative, like post a review at all, unless they either had a really good experience or a really bad experience? And generally, people would only leave one if they had a bad experience. So it's kind of weighted in a way where, if they have a ton of good reviews and only a couple of bad ones, then yeah, it's probably not that bad. It's probably just someone, is expecting more or just had a bad day or something like that. Because out of the 250 reviews, only 7 of them were at a 3 or below. So I think it's just
Yeah.
those individuals.
Yeah, that's a pretty good rating, right? That's pretty amazing.
So there's the Google reviews. And then just it has the old carry forward, the number of acres that they have. The target price is what you want to go your target price at, and then just description and comments.
Yeah, and
At
sometimes,
this point,
yeah. I was just going to say target price, maybe you're trying to buy it at a certain cap rate. So you're adjusting something based on what you found and to get to that cap rate. Or maybe you're just saying, you know what? I want to make an offer that is 70% of what they're asking for it, just to lowball them. Frankly, you might be doing that just so that you can position yourself to give them a full price offer with creative terms on it. That might be part of your strategy, right? Wow, this creative offer sounds great. And if there's 210 days on the market, yeah, perspective, Lana, absolutely. 200 days on the market, I imagine they've seen an offer of some type. And if they haven't, that's something you should ask is like, have there been any offers that have come in just to feel? You don't even care if they tell you the truth. They're going to tell you how they're feeling, essentially, which is their perception of things or what they want to convey. And that alone will tell you something that's useful. You just want to tease stuff out as much as possible. And yeah, David, you mentioned great in here. Yeah, not just Google reviews. Yeah, check out Yelp. Check out all of those. I don't know is one typically more likely to be like lower where you get more angry people like to vent more on one versus the other. I don't know if you guys tend to see that, but yeah,
I think it depends on the type of amenities and stuff you have and what, like if it's destination, if it has any kind of restaurant or food, kind of leans more towards Yelp than Google review.
Yeah, I mean, Yelp, I think of food 100%. David, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, quick thing on that. A friend of mine lived in California, had his own car washing business, like detailing business, and all of his reviews in California were on Yelp. They moved to Texas, and they were just outside of Dallas, and he was trying to get his stuff going and trying to get Yelp reviews, and people are like, "Oh, nobody out here uses Yelp. Everybody uses Google reviews." Keeping in mind location by location, it could change the type of people and if it's even used for reviews on a service. Seeing even reviews on like Yelp that are 3 or 4 years old, whereas the Google reviews are maybe 2 months or a month old that's a lot more new. Even if the older, your numbers on Yelp might be really bad, but your Google ones are really good. You can take it by how recent are those reviews. So
Yeah. Yeah. All great ones. I didn't think there was going to be a soda versus pop debate with the location affecting it, but that's interesting. That's certainly
would never have
interesting.
known if he hadn't gone through that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. And then Lana, I see you're raising your hand. Wait,
Sorry.
there you go. I was going to say.
Thank you. So I was curious about Mo's question about the calculator working for land to build an RV park. And then I know we're running out of time, but you mentioned something, I kind of missed it. If you want to retire at the park, would that kind of change your decision, like personally, like if you wanted to retire at that New Mexico glamp camp park?
Yeah. Well,
Is that changes your decision
sure.
a
So let
little
me
bit?
address that one first. And it might, you're like, I want to do this. I want to live this lifestyle, help other people with wellness. And it just makes sense because you want to operate that yourself. Then so be it. I would just say make sure that the finances all make sense and you're looking at what you're meeting your goals, right? At the end of the day, I want you to meet your goals for living and for, part of that is the finances, but you might not have enough money to pay any other operator. So you're going to live and breathe it every day. So just make sure that that's what you want. And that's cool. And you could hire handymen to do little fixes and stuff. They don't have to be full time on there. But that's where you try to figure out, and that's what I'm trying to get you guys to think about is how would you operate these different sizes of parks? Like obviously if there's 300 units, it's something you're not going to manage that whole thing just by yourself. But if there are 10, you probably could. So it's just all that balance with that. And then with would this work for land? Kind of, this is a little bit tailored towards RV parks. You could always add some different things that are in there. There's going to be different criteria that you would look for land. And if you're trying to go and build an RV park, for instance, one of the things I would think of first is zoning would be on my buy box. Make sure that it's zoned correctly because you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time if it's zoned residential and you're trying to put this on there, or if it's completely restricting an RV park. And zoning is one of those things that until you get the hang of it, it could take a little bit longer to do. But yeah, all you have to do is know what your buy box is. And that's essentially your 60-second analysis. What is your buy box? And you're putting those items in there to make sure that it's meeting your buy box. This is just makes you formally go through the process so that you're not missing any of those items in your buy box. So yeah, if whatever your criteria is, you can just add another section in there and you have your own little 60-second analysis. So yeah, and essentially this is just trying to compartmentalize your time so you don't get into the weeds and you don't start looking at this little glamp camp and being like, wow, that looks so cute. I wonder what they're open. What are their prices right now? Let me try and book something there. Let's look at their website. Oh, that's so cute. Let me message them. Let's see what type of wellness packages do they have. You're going down this thing where you were doing real estate investing before and now you're just shopping. So like, what are you trying to do with your time? What I'm trying to get for you guys is like when we're working and we're analyzing, let's be as efficient as possible, make sure we don't miss anything as much as possible. And then we can come back to it at another time as well. And we can compare. Now we've got all the different prices per pad and we're looking at everything. And it's very detailed and it's taking your emotions more out of it. And you're in that mode at this point. So that's what we're trying to do with this right here. Because don't get me wrong, it's fun to go down those rabbit holes, but that's usually not going to get us much closer to buying an RV park. It'll spend some money, we'll go visit it, and that's super cool. And that's what I want to do with you guys too. I want to see you guys in person. So with that, I'm going to transition now because if anyone has any other parks to start looking at and stuff, we might have another session where we're just looking at parks, especially for people that end up bird dogging for us. We'll go through some of those live just so that they can understand what's a good fit for us and would we buy this deal from them. We could do that in the future as well. But make sure that you get this one, and we're going to have a bunch of other resources that are in that site on the MaverickAsherInvestments.com to help you with all the next workshops that we're doing. So really meant to build on it and help out the whole community. If you have any questions, put them in the Facebook marketplace, the Facebook group, and super cool. We'll help you out with all of that. And yeah, make sure you come to the meetup. It's going to be in 2 weeks, Thursday evening. I'm telling you, this transaction coordinator is awesome. There's many different people that can do the transactional funding and the transactional coordinator, but this guy has the title company lined up, the attorneys lined up, the hard money lender, the broker, everything that you need to get everything. And he loves engineering deals. He kind of got sick of doing single family homes because they're boring. He'd rather do some gnarly RV parks, bigger things, bigger money, bigger moving parts. And it's just, he really gets excited when you can make money when you're buying the property, which I totally related with. So I'm like, dude, you got to come on our meetup and share this with other people because this is a fun one. So great. Hope you guys liked all that. Got some good value out of that. And yeah, get these resources good to go. Rick, I appreciate you being able to pop in here at the end too. Rick's always helping us out with everything as well. Rhonda, lots of love to you. Kevin, thank you for taking the time, taking people through all of that. And everyone else, appreciate you adding into all of this, giving your thoughts. Mo, David, Morris, everyone, Lana, hey, let's go buy some RV parks, and even better, let's make our bank accounts bigger when we do. So with that, have fun, go analyze some deals. I'll see you guys next time. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Invest In podcast. I hope you picked up insights to fuel your investing journey. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave a rating and review. It helps more adventurers like you find us. For behind-the-scenes content and updates on our RV resort projects, follow @GoInvestIn on Instagram, LinkedIn, X, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Want to dive even deeper? Visit MaverickAsherInvestments.com for resources, and tune into next Thursday for another episode. Until then, keep investing, keep exploring, and I'll see you on the road.